There are four questions to ask when determining the behavior of an animal. The first question is what stimulus elicits this behavior? A good example to answer the first question can be seen in a fixed action pattern. A fixed action pattern is where an organism is in a situation and a stimulus from that situation causes a reaction. In the three-spine stickleback, there is a fixed action pattern where a male stickleback attacks anything in its territory with a red bottom. The stimulus in this case is the action of seeing red, and not necessarily the other fish in his territory. The male stickleback probably attacks to keep males from encroaching upon his territory. This keeps his chances of reproducing with females in his territory very high. The second question is how an organism's experience during growth influences the response to a given stimulus. An example to this kind of behavior in animals is learning. The animal in a situation has instincts that can be altered by its environment. An example of this is an experiment where young mice of a separate species are raised by another species of mice. In this example, one species of mice, the California mice, and another species of mice, the white-footed mice, have two separate behaviors. The California mice are highly aggressive toward other mice and provide extensive parental care, while the white-footed mouse are less aggressive and engage in little parental care. Another example is associative learning, where some organisms may be able to place a specific memory to another, such as a foul taste with a color. A famous example of this is Pavlov's dog. Pavlov carried out experiments in classical conditioning, also known as associative learning, in which the dog would associate the ringing of a bell with feeding time. This would cause the dog to salivate regardless of if food was present or not, based upon the ringing of a bell. The third question is how behavior of an organism aids survival and reproduction. Foraging behaviors are when an animal goes about a certain pattern in which he obtains food to continue living. Foraging can be boiled down to risk and reward. An example of foraging in an organism can be seen in fruit fly larvae. The larvae can be separated into two separate groups, in which one group is a rover allele and another group is a sitter. The rover alleles move all about their surroundings in order to gather food, while sitter alleles stay in one position and expend small amounts of energy in order to feed themselves. The difference in these two is that one expends large amounts of energy in order to find food constantly, while the other scarcely uses energy in order to keep itself alive. The reason for these two separate groups is mainly due to population size. If a population size is large, a larva must go far and forage as opposed to sitting in one spot and not having any food to live. If the population size is small, however, there's enough food for the larva to sit in one location and continue feeding. The fourth question asks how behavior came about genetically and the history of a behavior. The answer to this question can also answer how selfless acts that benefit a species' overall survival came to fruition. An example of how genes can dictate the behavior of an animal is in the fruit fly. A gene known as Fru allows a male fruit fly to behave in a certain way during a mating dance, which allows females to know that he genetically has no mutations. The Fru gene was found to be a master gene, controlling other genes with much narrower functions. Hamilton theorizes inclusive fitness, in which a species wishes to see its own species thrive, therefore it will help those close to it in genetic information, such as a sibling or parent.